everybody. Happy Easter. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, April 12th, 2020. Oh, I know I said last week that I was going to save the classic episodes for a rainy day, but the classic episode that they aired on Friday, oh my goodness, Y&R tossed that ball right into my exact playing field, and there is no way that I'm gonna not knock it back and hit it right back out of the park. The year, my friends, was 1993, March of 1993 to be exact. And the episode that Y&R played on Friday originally aired just months before I started watching Y&R. That episode was March of 93, and I started watching The Young and the Restless over my summer vacation of that same year. So with the way that Y&R used to drag out all of their stories, the plots that we saw re-aired on Friday, those were the stories that led to me being drawn in to The Young and the Restless. I mean, literally a few months later, that pain that we saw in Victor's eyes when Nikki accused him of being responsible for the loss of her and Jack's baby, that pain would send Victor out on a journey that led him to Kansas, while everyone else back in Genoa City presumed that he was dead. And Jack and Brad hijacked his company, and I was hooked for life. For life! So normally I would not start out a Y&R chat talking about a classic episode, since I don't know if everybody got a chance to see it. I hope that you did, and if you didn't, I hope that you seek it out. And if you didn't see it and can't seek it out, I hope that you'll at least enjoy listening to me talk about it for like the next hour. If not, go ahead and skip ahead the next hour of Y&R Chat, because let me tell you, seeing that classic episode on Friday is what got me out of bed this morning to jump up and talk about Y&R Chat. Like, this is the thing that got me excited to do Y&R Chat today. I mean, I could do an entire Y&R Chat just on the 1993 Y&R intro alone. All of the characters, and I mean every single last gosh darn one of them, did a turnaround and flew into the screen at me. And you know that's just how I like it. It was a turnaround, a blast of wind, a pose, and a fade. That is the way that it's done. If anybody wants to see a shining example of how you do a soap intro, it was Nikki. Nikki in those opening credits, that hair was blowing in the wind. She was given a dramatic face. I will also say that Traci seemed to be really feeling herself in those intros. She was slim and trim, and she was even giving a slightly devious face. I mean, let us remember, Traci was no slouch. It was kind of a deviously sexy look that she was giving to the camera. And we should not forget that Traci was married to Brad. You know, Brad, the man who was unashamedly taking his shirt off in that intro. You go, Brad. You take your shirt off, Brad. Everybody else was giving class and glamour, and at the very end of the intro, it was just Brad taking his shirt off. Yes! What more could you possibly ask for in your entertainment? That's it. That's all, in a nutshell. That intro. I was hooked. I was hooked. And I also thought that shirtless Brad made a very nice juxtaposition to Jack in that intro. Brad's taking his shirt off while Jack is flying into the screen wearing a black tuxedo with a white scarf draped around his neck. Oh yes, let me say that again. Jack was wearing a black tuxedo with a white scarf draped around his neck, looking like he was going to the opera. That outfit, oh my goodness. What a spoiled little rich brat Jack looked like. And honestly, that kind of made me appreciate the current day Kyle a little bit more. Kyle is just a perfect chip off of that old block. While we're talking about fashion, though, Jill looked like she was wearing a green floral clown suit. And that was her power suit. That was her business attire at Chabot. Standing there talking to good old too tan Rex. That man was too tan. Oh, Catherine's old too-tan husband, Rex. He loved her, though. Rex loved Catherine. But it was juicy. I mean, this was an overall juicy, plot-heavy episode. Apparently, John Abbott had a vasectomy without telling his wife, Jill. And John was none too happy to find out that Jill had gotten pregnant before he had secretly had this procedure. So here he is thinking he had a vasectomy because he didn't want any more kids, and now his wife is telling him, oh yeah, I got pregnant. Must have been before that. That's some good drama right there. You know, vasectomies are not much of a plot point these days, and I'm not sure why. I mean, maybe men don't get them as often, but vasectomies were very much used as a plot point back then. Men got them reversed, men got them, and then they magically reversed on their own. It was a whole phenomenon. You know, we usually today think of John Abbott in kind of the terms of the wise old ghost angel, the way that his children remember him, and especially the way Jack remembers him. But John was pretty angry in those scenes. He was not a happy man. I wouldn't have wanted to be on the receiving end of his fury. And I picked up on Y&R while Jill was pregnant. So I do remember that it was played into that John really did not want this baby, which is oddly understandable. I felt like I should be annoyed with John because he was being such a jerk about the pregnancy that he caused. I mean, at the end of the day, he caused it. And he was mad at Jill for not taking precautions to prevent it. But I think that's something that's missing on soap operas a little bit today. John was really angry about this baby, but yet just from watching that one single episode, I really understood why. I understood where he was coming from, that he just didn't want to be a father this late in life. I mean, on the surface, I think today we would be saying, well, hey, buddy, you went and got the vasectomy, didn't tell your wife, you did that in secret, and now you're mad at her for something that happened before that. I think I would be mad at him today. And yet, in one single day's worth of episodes, I totally got John's position. By the way, that baby that Jill was carrying, why, that baby was none other than William Foster Abbott, better known to all of us today as Billy. It was nice to see John, though, alive, being alive and all. John's cream-colored polo shirt was a real moment there too in that episode. I had to take note of the cream-colored polo shirt because the polo shirt is as much of a 1980s, 1990s sign of wealth and status as is the white scarf draped over the tuxedo. We were supposed to see and believe the wealth as evidenced by the polo shirt and the tuxedo with draped white scarf. All Jack needed was a pair of gloves to go with his white scarf. Jack needed a pair of white gloves to whip around while at the opera with his white scarf and his black tuxedo. That just tickled me to no end. My head about exploded in my living room when I saw it. Yes, in the scene, Jack was talking to John about his relationship with Nikki after they had just recently miscarried their child. Jack and John were at the Abbott Mansion, which looks remarkably similar to how the Abbott Mansion looks today. But then Jack went home. Jack went home to his wife, Nikki, at the ranch. Jack was living at the ranch in Victor's old house with his wife. The ranch, oh, I miss that ranch. The ranch was so pink. That ranch was straight up pink. They could have just painted it. They didn't have to burn it down. I miss the pink. But I more so just miss the ranch. They could have gone with cream. They could have updated the color. They could have updated it. They did not have to burn it to the ground. And then they rebuilt the ranch, and today's ranch is just so boring. It's not even the original set that Y&R rebuilt after the fire. Because remember, right after Sharon set the ranch on fire, we got a new ranch, and you would enter in through the front door, and you would stand at that foyer where you could go down into the main living room, or you could go upstairs to where apparently Victor's offices and the bedrooms and things and the wings were located. Remember when JT pushed Victor down the stairs like 2 years ago? That was the original rebuilt ranch, but now we don't even get that. Now we spend all of our time nowhere near the front door. We're just sort of in that horsey sitting room. It's very horsey in there. And today, Miguel has been replaced by simply and vaguely Cook. We just have Cook, right? Whatever happened to Miguel? I don't know if maybe Y&R decided that having a butler would be problematic. I don't know. Mamie's role on the show was very of its time too. So maybe they just made a conscious decision to kind of do away with the idea of servants. But it was all very of its time. And Miguel, played by Anthony Pena, he was on the show for 23 years, and then he just disappeared into thin air. The actor is now 73 years old. What is he up to? I tried Googling him. There's nothing. No photos, not even any current photos of him. Nothing. He's just gone. I don't understand why. I think Y&R should surprise the viewers and bring Miguel back. Bring Miguel back as Esther's boyfriend. How perfect would that be? I think they maybe dated a little bit back in the day. So bring him back now as Esther's boyfriend. Esther said a couple of months ago that she's been dating and she's been using dating apps to do it. I mean, wouldn't that drop some jaws if out of nowhere Esther came back into the scene to introduce her new beau and it was Miguel? Back at the ranch, Nikki's hair was braided and coiffed for the gods. And her skin and her makeup was so flawless. It looked to me like Nikki's makeup must have been airbrushed on. She looked like a porcelain doll. And she was wearing that cute pink striped silk shirt with like 2 collars on the top. And she had those big chunky pearl earrings that were only to be outdone by Jill's chunky big emerald square earrings. Oh my gosh, earrings were so huge back then. I mean, literally physically huge, hanging off your ears. I feel sorry for the women who had to wear them because their ears are probably so saggy. Fashion. The fashion. Victor had on some pretty baggy, high-waisted dress slacks on, didn't he? That's how you know that it's the early 90s. High-waisted, baggy dress slacks. And Victor was right there. He was of the time wearing that fashion too. In that scene with Douglas at the penthouse. Ahem. The penthouse. Note the penthouse. The one where the door is on the right side of your screen. Okay? Because I remember that when Adam came back into town, Victor gave Adam the penthouse. And that penthouse that Adam is in right now has the door on the left side of the screen. So don't try to make me think, Y&R, that that's the same penthouse because I know it's not. That penthouse that Victor was in Friday's classic episode, the original Victor penthouse, looks more like it could have been Devon's penthouse. Maybe the penthouse was broken up into 2 parts. I just need it to be consistent in my mind. That's all I'm saying. And I know we talked about this not that long ago. Maybe we resolved it, but I still haven't resolved it in my mind. And now I'm digressing. I loved the penthouse. And I loved how when Victor got home from his visit with Nikki at the ranch, he walked into the penthouse and Douglas was just sitting there kicking it on the couch, wearing his ascot. Like, what exactly was Douglas's role in Victor's life? Was he a paid companion? Or, like, was he paid? Was he just a friend? I don't know. I don't remember. Douglas was always there when I was watching, but I don't remember what the nature of the relationship is. And another question, this kind of feels like it should be a trivia question, but I know some of you guys out there are going to know this, so please tell me. This is a test. This is a test for you longtime viewers. Okay, at the penthouse, who was the woman in the portrait above the fireplace? With the dark hair and the blue dress, who was it? Was it Julia? And if it was Julia, Victor's first wife, then why was the portrait still hanging there in 93, long after he and Julia had divorced and he had been married to Nikki? Now here's where, okay, I kind of regret not watching last week's classic episode. I felt bad about it afterwards. I really genuinely felt that I let you guys down by not watching Nikki and Victor's wedding episode. But in my defense, also, Y&R had aired that episode fairly recently. I don't know, maybe not everybody gets the same re-airs, but I think I got that episode during the impeachment trials. So I didn't really need to watch it again last week, but it actually ended up being a perfect tie-in because who should pop up in both of the classic episodes that we've seen in the last 2 weeks by sheer coincidence? Eve Howard. That's perfect. There's no way that even happened purposefully. I think that was just a pure accident, and it's a beautiful accident. So in the 80s when I wasn't watching, apparently, Victor had a one-night stand with his former assistant, Eve. And this one-night stand happened while he was still married to Julia. So now, if I understand correctly, Eve ended up getting pregnant, telling Victor that the baby was his. And Victor doesn't believe it, but he shells out a trust fund for the kid just in case it actually was his. Now, that's in the 80s. Few years later, I think probably now we're into the mid-80s, Eve was creeping around at Nikki and Victor's wedding. We saw that at the very end of that wedding episode that aired last week. Now, 10 years go by. Now it's 1993. I mean, there's like a 10-year gap here, and Victor is finally contacting Eve to find out if that kid is really his. But that kid is now a grown man, and that grown man's name is Cole Howard. Do you remember Cole Howard? He turned out not to be Victor's son, which was a good thing because he married Victoria. Cole was married to Victoria, and there was this whole, oh crap, they got married and they might be brother-sister thing going on. Yeah. That's another storyline that kind of happened a lot back then, and they don't touch it as closely these days. Although Summer and Kyle thought they might be related for a minute. But yes, Cole was married to Victoria, and remember a couple years ago when we were talking about icky mother-daughter triangles when it came to Phyllis and Summer and Billy? Well, Cole was married to Victoria, and he also had kind of a brief involvement with Nikki. Icky! Cole was also married to Ashley. And now this Friday Classic episode 1993 featured Ashley number 2 of 3. Okay, this was not Eileen Davidson's Ashley. This was my original Ashley, Brenda Epperson, who had some amazing hair going on. I liked her very much. I remember when Eileen Davidson ended up coming back to the role, which I think maybe there even was another Ashley in there but before Eileen Davidson came back. But, you know, to most of you longtime viewers, Ashley is the OG. But I remember when Eileen Davidson is the OG, but I remember when Eileen Davidson came back, I wasn't excited about it because I knew of her more from Days of Our Lives where she was playing crazy kooky characters and I wasn't into it. My first exposure to Ashley was the elegance and glamour of Brenda Epperson. I wonder what she's up to today. Well, at that time of that episode, she was definitely getting a little flirty with my all-time favorite soap hunk, Mr. Brad Carlton. Oh, yes, yes. I loved seeing Brad. And he was being kind of a nice guy. He was smarmy, but he was being a nice guy. He was remodeling Neil's apartment as a surprise for when Neil and Drusilla got home from their honeymoon in Antigua. Yes! Oh, that was so fun and so carefree. I just loved seeing Neil and Drew together when they were at their happiest. I mean, those two were just so natural together. The chemistry between them just looked effortless. I believed every moment between them, every look, every word, every kiss. They were newlyweds, head over heels in love, and it was so light and so beautiful and so fun. I kind of suspect that maybe Y&R had prepped this episode a while ago. It was a good episode, but it was also Neil and Drusilla's famous Antigua honeymoon. I mean, it was a big deal to have that location shoot at the time. And so I wonder if this particular episode from Friday was pulled from the vault around the time of Christoph's passing so that the footage could be used for his tribute show. Because I also think that there were some of those pieces from Nikki and Victor's scenes together at the ranch made its way into Victor's 50th anniversary Newman Enterprises celebration. Oh, I sure hope that you guys don't mind my little flashback recap taking up so much time. But I honestly did not expect to respond so deeply and passionately to this classic episode. But the second it started airing and I realized what it was and from when it was, I just slipped right back into 1993, and it fit like a glove. It fit like a white opera glove. It just, it hit the spot. The music, oh, that classic music, some of that music, some of it was almost kind of creepy and mysterious, and some of that music I have not heard in decades, and yet the second I heard that song I knew it immediately. It's kind of like how they say that Alzheimer's patients will remember some of their earliest memories most strongly. Like Dina may not remember what decade she's in, but you could probably put on one of her favorite songs and she would know every word. It was like that with me. It just, hearing that old music just triggered something in me, and I was right back there. I was right back in 93. And I thought all of the scenes looked really beautiful. I mean, even though it's a rebroadcast and we had the black bars on either sides, I thought the footage looked really nice. The lighting, that classic soap opera lighting, or the lighting that made Y&R famous for the darker shadows, and just the way it looked was so beautiful. And those tight camera shots. I mean, the camera was practically right up everybody's nose. It was just so close into the face. And yet somehow, because the camera was so close to each actor, the dialogue and what was going on seemed somehow softer and quieter and more close and more intimate. I think maybe that's part of the thing that kind of drew me in. It's almost like you're being told a secret, and you have to almost, listen and really focus and get into every breath, every word. And it's just not quite the same these days. And I'm not necessarily saying the soaps were better then, but it's just different. I mean, I think the more modern viewer expects things to be a little more fast-paced and a little more loud and a little more in your face. I think things had to change, but still we could have an appreciation for what it used to be. I know I'm going on. But I just can't even tell you how much I enjoyed Friday. If we end up airing all classic episodes in this gap before new episodes can be produced, because I don't see how there's not going to be a gap. I mean, we've maybe got a few more weeks worth of new episodes, and doing 4 a week is gonna maybe buy us another week, but I don't know that that's gonna be enough. I think there is going to be a production gap, and if Y&R just goes ahead and airs classic episodes through the gap, that is 100% okay by me. I don't even care what year it is. Spin the wheel. Air it up. Just pick a date. Spin the wheel, pick a random date, air that episode, and I am in. I don't care if I was watching Y&R at the time or not. I don't care if it's 1973, 1983, or 1993. I will just draw the shades, draw up my curtains in my living room, toss on my fur mink stole, and I will just pretend that I am in whatever decade that we're in on that day. Oh, the fantasy! That's what's exciting to me. And if Y&R does happen to decide to air some episodes from when Victor was with Hope in Kansas, well, I might just think I've died and gone to heaven. And now, bringing it all full circle back to Kansas, I guess all roads lead back to Kansas for me. I am so glad that Alyssa didn't just go away. I am so glad that Alyssa didn't just disappear into the plot mist like Jared apparently has. Served the plot purpose and then went away. No. Alyssa persisted. Alyssa shows back up this week to find out why Adam hasn't published her story. Alyssa put her heart and soul and her family's story onto the line and into this writing. She handed Adam all of the power over it, and now it seems like he's dragging his feet. So Alyssa shows up at the condo, and she first has a run-in with Chelsea. And Chelsea does her very best to try to do some damage control. But Alyssa is not easily fooled by Chelsea's sweet, relatable, innocent persona. What happened to Chelsea? What happened? Why is she a completely different person? Chelsea usually balances out Adam's weaseliness because Chelsea has always had a softer edge. Yes, she's a con artist. Yes, she's a bad girl. But from the moment she came to town and got reformed, she's always trying to have a conscience. And now here Chelsea is lying to Alyssa, feigning concern for Alyssa out of one side of her mouth while helping Adam screw her over out of the other side of her mouth. Adam gets home and he sees that Alyssa is there asking questions, putting the pressure on Chelsea. And Adam has to pick up the ball and run with it. He creates this very quick, good lie, completely out of thin air, saying that he hasn't published her story in his publication because he's holding out for a better deal. He is calling in some favors to try to get this story into a national publication, to try to get it more exposure. Now that was a very good, quick lie that pacified Alyssa in the moment, but I don't think it's completely stopped her alarm bells from ringing. And after Alyssa leaves, Chelsea warns Adam that Alyssa's not just gonna go away. The more that this story doesn't get published, the more she's going to ask questions. But Adam doesn't even take that too seriously. He doesn't seem to think that Alyssa's a problem at all, which is a very big mistake, counting someone out. But that's exactly the mistake that Adam is making. Adam is so focused on his victory, thinking that he's won against Victor, and he's pouring wine and toasting with Chelsea, so happy and satisfied with himself, saying that here they are, they've arrived, life at the top. Well, life at the top has a long way down. Adam, at the very end of Friday's show, takes a phone call from Victor, and Victor wants to meet at Newman Enterprises. Adam is assuming that this meeting is Victor wanting to pass the torch. But Victor has been building Newman Enterprises from the ground up for the past 50 years. There is no way that Victor is handing it all over to Adam with 50 minutes of deliberation. There's just no way. It was very dramatic of Victor, though, at the beginning of the week to decide to bring Victoria in to witness the drama that would deceive her from the job of her dreams on the very same day that she returned to it. Victor has a good sense of drama. But after Adam first lays out all of the evidence that he has against Victor, Victor drags Adam down to Newman Enterprises so that Victoria can see Adam's blackmail attempt in all of its shining glory. And also so that Victoria could rip into Adam like they were two children on a playground. You know, I kept thinking through those scenes when Victoria was just laying into Adam. I thought, if Victoria were a little bit more human, which she's not, she might have at least tried to reach out to Adam at some point and say, hey, brother, I know better than anyone what it's like living under the shadow of our Father, loving him and hating him, sometimes in the same breath, wanting his approval, yet despising yourself for wanting it. And I think Victoria has had some opportunities to say that, because there was another moment later in the week where Victoria and Adam were both sitting at the society bar, and Adam was taunting Victoria, and she was mostly just absorbing the punches. And I would have maybe liked to have seen her really lean in on Adam and really start digging beneath his surface. I mean, Victoria should know exactly why he's doing what he's doing, and therefore she would know exactly what buttons to push. I mean, even after everything, Adam still wants Daddy's approval. And Victoria could have been in a position to at least say to him, hey, there is no winning in this game. Take it from me. At the end of the day, the job is just the job. Victor's respect and admiration and vying for the opportunity to be the number one child, that's a whole separate thing. And Adam is not going to win out of all of this. Adam is going to be more angry and more devastated than ever, and he could end up losing all of the things that he cares most about. I know that Victor's up to something, because after Adam left the office from that first scene with Victor, Victoria, and he, we saw Victor talking talking with Victoria privately, and Victoria was saying to Victor, is there any truth to the claims that Adam is making? And Victor replies, I have something to tell you. Cut to commercial. Cut back from commercial. Victor is calling Adam and telling him that he's giving him what he wants. We didn't see Victor confess to the crime to Victoria, so I'd say we either saw Victor clue Victoria into the plan completely, telling her that this is what it is, try to make it look real, do not at all flounder, let it be the truth, pretend it's the truth. Or we saw Victoria being placated by Victor, that's what's going on the surface. Right now, Victoria is livid, not just at Adam, but with Victor too. On the surface, she appears to be thinking that Victor is just rolling over, playing dead, giving Adam exactly what he wants, and oh well, Victoria's out. After all of her loyalty, she's just out. And as a matter of fact, Billy has been right there stoking that fire. Billy was telling Victoria this week that she has the right to hate both Victor and Adam over this, which would be true, but I just think that Victoria knows what she's doing and she's following through with her orders to make it look real. And if Victoria is acting, she is doing a good job because even Nikki was buying it. I have a feeling that Nikki really is out of the loop on all of this at this point. I wish we would see a scene where Victor's giving Nikki kind of a wink and letting her in on the plan, because she was begging him this week to be honest with her. She was even bold-faced asking Victor if this was all part of a plan to trick Adam. But he didn't give an inch, not that we saw anyway. I mean, with Victor, it's always, trust me, I have a plan. Your loyalty will be rewarded later. Unless it isn't. But I don't know. Either way, I'm convinced. I think that Victor's plan is to let Adam think that he's won. And then a couple of weeks down the road, bring down the hammer so hard that even Chelsea will feel it. That smug look of self-satisfaction on Chelsea's face while she's in the background of all of this going on, it's just annoying to me. I feel like Chelsea is going to and deserve to have as much of a rude awakening as Adam will, and I'm gonna enjoy it. And I think Chloe is going to enjoy it too. I mean, Chloe's been right there with Chelsea saying that she supports the relationship with Adam. Even was implying to Chelsea that if she were to get pregnant, how cute it would be that they could raise their kids together. But if all of this goes down badly for Adam, I have a feeling that Chloe is going to be one of the first people right there to tell Chelsea, I told you so. Chloe warned Chelsea not to get back involved with Adam. She is biting her tongue every meeting that they have. And you know that Chloe is secretly waiting for Adam to make a mistake so that their relationship will be over, so that Chloe can have Chelsea all to herself to start their new business. Chloe 2.0. I mean, Chelsea 3.0. I mean, what's the name of this new company already that they're starting? What is it? Chelsea Newman Enterprises? Is that it now? Maybe Chelsea can commission a portrait of herself to hang on the wall at their new offices so that she and Adam can have matching oil portraits of themselves. I don't know. But how about that scene on Friday when Adam walks into his new office at Newman Enterprises and the first thing he did was pull down Victor's portrait from the wall? I couldn't help but think of all the other wonderful moments in my time of watching Y&R where that portrait has come down. And now I'm remembering when Victor's portrait was taken down and replaced with the ridiculous portrait of Jack and Brad together. That was so dramatic to me at the time because that was, again, probably 93, 94. That portrait is such a good dramatic piece. Do you remember when we saw Victor's portrait morph from Victor's face into Justin Hartley's Adam's face? Oh yes, we've been here before. It's kind of the cycle. But where we left off on Friday, Adam has pulled Victor's portrait down from the wall. He hasn't replaced it with anything else yet. But it seemed to me that Adam was almost looking tentative, like he knows that it's too good to be true, like he's waiting for Victor's next move. And I'm sure next week Victor's going to meet Adam there at the office and he's going to see his portrait sitting on the ground and he's going to boil over with anger about it. I wonder if Victor is going to reveal a master plan next week or if we're going to see this stretched out a little longer. It's just not even in question for me that Victor has a master plan and that Adam's going to go down over this. I just wonder how long it's going to take. I hope that it's going to be stretched out. I cannot wait to see what Victor has planned for Adam. And I'm also, maybe more than anything else, looking forward to seeing what Victoria's next move is going to be. At the tail end of Friday's show, Victoria has tracked Alyssa down and is about to inform Alyssa that these people who she thinks are her friends are actually not her friends. And I think that Victoria is probably operating on direct orders from Victor to make this connection with Alyssa, to have that conversation. How else would Victoria even know who Alyssa Montalvo is? See, I just think that there's more. I think Victor and Victoria are working together on this one. And this is what happens when you discount the little guy, Adam and Chelsea. They're too busy counting their Kansas farm chickens before those eggs have hatched. They're not even going to see it coming. They're not even going to realize that Alyssa would ever think to team up with Victoria to expose them. But maybe Alyssa will write a news story. Maybe Alyssa will get that byline in a national publication after all. Maybe it will even be at a powerful little upstart that we're calling Chancellor Communications. I have been so surprisingly impressed with Faith throughout Sharon's awful cancer journey. I think maybe I've been impressed by Faith most of all. Sharon has to tell Faith and Mariah together this week that the chemotherapy treatments have not worked. And I just totally connected with Faith saying, wait, well, maybe the doctors didn't use the right combination of drugs. Maybe they can try again. I guess maybe it was because that is such a genuine human reaction right there. Because I feel like maybe that's something that would occur to me. Just, well, wait a minute, maybe something went wrong. Why don't we try again? But then when Sharon reassures Faith that the doctors did everything that they could, Faith changes her perspective very quickly and suggests that maybe surgery is going to be better. If the goal is to get the cancer gone, then maybe we should just let the surgeons remove it and it will be gone. And the innocence and the simplicity from a young person saying that was just so stark in comparison to what we know as adults is a very brutal process, this surgery. I don't know, I just really feel for Faith right now. Nick finally tells Summer about Sharon's cancer, which I guess I hadn't thought about it before, that Summer was being intentionally kept out of the loop. But then again, as half-sisters, it seems like it would be more realistic that Faith would have just told Summer. Or if Faith and Summer have any real relationship at all, that Summer would have noticed that something was weighing on Faith. But that's not what happened. Nick and Phyllis together told Summer and actually encouraged Summer to then go find Faith, to be there for her. And that's exactly what Summer did. Summer showed up at Sharon's house while Faith and Mariah and Tessa were there. And Mariah even hugged Summer when she walked through the door. I think it was Mariah who initiated it even. That was such a sweetly awkward moment. The whole thing was a little awkward though. Maybe a little awkward. Maybe a little uncomfortable. A little bit too much like trying to pretend that everything's fine when we know that things are not fine. All of the girls are sitting on the couch listening to Tessa regale them with tales from the tour, which is all over now. By the way, Tessa is officially off tour. She's officially back in Genoa City. And I feel a little bit gypped to not have seen Mariah and Tessa on tour a little bit more. I mean, I was promised a brand new groupie wardrobe for Mariah, and I never got it. The entire time that the girls were there, Sharon was looking really glassy-eyed and distant, and I think Sharon knows that her chances of surviving this cancer just got reduced. If the cancer is so aggressive that chemo didn't affect it, then she knows that the road ahead is not going to look quite so much like lemon cake. One of the things I really appreciated, though, was Sharon having that moment alone with Tessa before everybody else showed up. Because Sharon was, in not so many words, telling Tessa that she sees the path ahead and that Mariah might end up needing Tessa to help her through this. And after this, if Sharon doesn't survive this. It was a very heavy scene, and it was like there was this very understated between the lines thing going on. I think Sharon was subtly trying to tell Tessa that she was worried about her own life and that she didn't want to have to worry about Mariah's on top of it. Please take care of my daughter. And I think that Tessa knew exactly what Sharon was saying, and she took it to heart. And she didn't even tell Mariah about that conversation. She just took it to heart. And there was this private moment later in the week at the coffee house where Tessa was pledging her love and support to Mariah, telling Mariah and the audience unequivocally that she is here to stay. Tessa is part of the story, beginning, middle, and end. And in the end, Tessa wants to make things official with Mariah, but Tessa couldn't even get the words out of her mouth because Mariah saw what was happening and blocked them with a kiss. Tessa was about to say, maybe we should just make it official and get married. Tessa was about to propose to Mariah, and Mariah cut it off. And at first, I was like, wait a minute, Mariah, what are you doing? You just got Tessa back. I mean, you should be leaping at this opportunity. But I got it a couple of seconds afterwards. I think that Mariah, I just told Tessa she would rather wait until all of this is over, until Sharon has beaten the cancer before even thinking about that idea. Because right now, Sharon needs to be the focus, and it would feel weird to try to be happy and joyous for a wedding when all of this is going on. It'll be so much better to just wait until the clouds have parted so that Mariah and Tessa would be able to fully embrace their moment, and so Sharon can too. So Sharon can have something to look forward to. Sharon is not exactly in a place to be celebrating right now. Sharon has been putting on her very best face, trying to act like she's up for a party and doing it for the sake of her kids, but this is no party for her. Her anxiety was reaching a peak this week. She had a scheduled appointment with her normal doctor or her oncologist, but she ended up calling the doctor and saying she cannot wait any longer. She needs to find out what she's up against. Tell me now. And it actually was not the worst case scenario. Her doctor recommended that they just stay the course to do the lumpectomy and then to decide where to go from there. So mastectomy is we're not leaping to that. We are just going to try to cut out the tumor. And Sharon was very relieved. I mean, she had a smile on her face. It obviously affected her immediately. Nick and Ray were there with her when she made the call, and I do also love how Nick is being very supportive of them both, but especially Ray. Ray really does need someone of his own age range, another adult man, to lean on with all of this. He has Lola, but it's, Ray's in the position of being the big brother in that dynamic. It's a little bit nicer for him to have someone who he might consider kind of on the same playing field that he could talk to. And Nick ended up extending the offer to Ray that maybe they should have a guys' night, said that they should get together and play pool sometime. I mean, yeah, we have a big old pink pool table that never gets used at the Grand Phoenix. So yes, that'd be nice to see. I like Ray and Nick being friends, as opposed to, me assuming that they would have ended up being rivals over Sharon. Yeah. After Sharon talked to her doctor, her girls showed back up at the coffee house. It was everybody except for Summer again. Summer's just kind of not included in any of this. It was just Faith and Mariah and Tessa, and the whole group just kicked in to Team Sharon mode, divvying up the responsibilities for how they're going to keep things running while Sharon is recovering from her surgery, which I guess is only supposed to take 1 to 2 weeks. That's really surprising. 1 to 2 weeks to recover from that surgery. I wonder how long it will be after the surgery that we'll know if they were able to remove all of the cancer. Sharon also said that they were going to be doing a lymph node test to determine if the cancer had spread beyond where the breast tumor is. I'm gonna guess no on that. Only because I think that would be really, really bad. I think that once it spreads to your lymph nodes, it becomes a whole body battle, not just it becomes a whole body war, not just an isolated battle. So I'm kind of thinking maybe they are going to be able to get the tumor. I don't think that Y&R is planning on taking Sharon to death's door. I think they want to show just the battle. I think they want to show the support system. Because this story really has been as much about Sharon as it has been about the people who love Sharon. Everyone who has learned about Sharon's cancer has internalized it very deeply. And I love Phyllis, but I am always in awe of how she can take any situation and make it all about herself in about 30 seconds. It takes nothing. I mean, Phyllis has this great thing going on with Nick. They just established that there's more going on between them than just sex, and they just started feeling out the romantic relationship that is going on between them. And as soon as Phyllis finds out that Sharon's cancer treatment was not successful, she starts to pull away from Nick for, frankly, kind of immature reasons. I mean, Phyllis is thinking that if the breast cancer were to happen to her, that Nick would now be stuck in a position of feeling like he has to care for her the way that Ray is in the position of caring for Sharon. But it almost just felt to me like Phyllis was doing this as a way to go fishing for Nick to tell her that he loves her and that he would take care of her and that he would want to do it the way that Ray wants to do it for Sharon. Like, she just wants to have Nick reinforce what's going on between them. So she's going to pull away in a little bit of a game to try to get him to tell her that he loves her. What does Nick or anyone else have to say to Phyllis to get her to believe that she is lovable, that she is worthy of love? I don't know. To me, her insecurity is just staggering for someone who is always so swaggering. Why, oh, why couldn't Abby have been building condos next door to the Grand Phoenix Hotel? We do not need another extended stay hotel. If those had been condos, I think I would be standing up and applauding. But who am I kidding? I was still standing up and applauding as the sounds of the banging and the bonging and the screeching of metal were echoing through the Grand Phoenix lobby. Every single guest was in the background with their hands over their ears and a sourpuss face, demanding their refunds. And Phyllis is on the phone trying to do damage control when Abby traipses through the door, happy as a clam, saying, "Sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of my winning." I love it. Abby doesn't care if she's still part owner of that hotel. If Phyllis ends up failing running the Grand Phoenix Hotel and all of the guests go away, then the contract that they have is structured so that complete ownership just reverts right back to Abby, and now she can have 2 hotels, or who knows, knock down the Grand Phoenix and build a gym. That might be nice too. A gym. Well, it's nice to be an heiress, isn't it? Abby is an heiress with apparently some colleagues on the city council. Turns out when you are a major economic force like Abby Newman, little things like noise ordinances can just be easily sidestepped. But it also turns out that when you've had a brief stint running a real estate company like Dark Horse, you also apparently make some friends who can help you out filing a false report about building code violations. And that's what Phyllis did. Phyllis was sipping a martini when Abby was being served with a citation for building code violations that will apparently put her project on hold for months, maybe. Phyllis did not even deny it either. It was kind of fun. She just stood there smiling, saying that she was actually helping Abby by, making sure that her hotel was built to last. Ouch. Just ouch. That's gotta sting. I don't know what stung Abby more. The fact that now she's got these false building code violations to deal with, or the fact that she has just learned that Phyllis and Nick are back together. Please, please, please tell me that Traci is going to take the job offer that Lily and Billy have made for her. I need to see Traci flinging open doors with a pile of folders in her arms. I just need to see Traci. And if she takes this job, then it feels like Y&R is giving her character some permanent roots in Genoa City. Traci is just the most warm and wonderful character, and I have so much new appreciation for Beth Maitland's portrayal too. Since we've been seeing her more often, I have really started to notice her acting style, and it is very fast-paced dialogue, and sort of just, it has the pacing of a black and white detective movie. So I can, really see why they chose to take that direction with she and Kane's detective romance caper. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but I can't imagine a story that would be more satisfying to me and more self-correcting for me than if Lily and Traci and Kane were all working under the same roof at Chancellor Media. I just think that even if you didn't respond to Kane and Traci's romance the way that I did, you have to admit they did make good friends. They made good scene partners. Traci could be the bridge that brings Kane and Lily back together. I mean, if you're a Kane and Lily fan, although I don't know, Lily and Billy are giving me hardcore future romance vibes now. Did you see them snuggling up on the couch together while Traci was out in the hallway taking a phone call, and Lily's wedding photo of her and Neil was in the foreground? And that little moment where Lily was decidedly leaving Billy hanging on a fist bump. I mean, there's really just nowhere else that this can go now except for the bedroom. But in all honesty, I'm starting to lose hope that Kane is going to return to Genoa City as the new owner of Chancellor Industries. It was a good theory, and I'm just starting to think it's not going to pan out. Especially because Chance returns from his international call-in bust to give Jill the good news. And I guess that Colin admitted that he used Chancellor Industries to launder some money, and that clears Jill of any wrongdoing, but it does nothing to further my theory that he somehow transferred ownership to Kane in the process. Oh, well, I'm wrong a lot lately. Another thing that I think I've just been straight up wrong about is I totally assumed that all of the scenes that we've been seeing between Jack and Jill were just in place to kind of give the viewers a little jolt of nostalgia. And I completely dismissed the idea that there could be romance in the air for them. But now I'm wondering if I was just straight up wrong. We are getting so much Jack and Jill right now. She even invited him to go on a Saint Tropez vacation with her for some sun and some fun and some excursions. Wow, I mean, that's kind of intimate. Intimate. Of course, he turned her down because he wants to stay close to home for Dina right now. But he actually, Jack said to Jill, I'm sorry I can't go, but when you get back, maybe you could show me your tan lines. Okay, show me your tan lines? He said that. And then he gave Jill like the, his big leading man smile. Whoa! Jack wants to see Jill's tan lines. Silly Jack. Jill doesn't have any tan lines. She spends her time on the nude beach in Saint-Tropez. Tan line free. So yeah, I mean, if I'm wrong, and we're headed in the direction of a Jack and Jill romance, then what do you think about that? I am going to make that our poll question for this week. I mean, after all of these years, do you think that Jack and Jill could actually make a good match? I mean, they've been involved before, but never really seriously, right? But forget about the past. What about right now? Go to yrchat.com and let me know what you think about Jack and Jill hooking up right now. I don't know. I've got to say, separately, I love both of these characters, but I'm not sure how I feel about them hooking up, and maybe that's why I dismissed it so quickly. Something just feels off about it for me for some reason, and I can't totally put my finger on it, but, you know, maybe a romantic vacation to a nude beach in Saint Tropez. Maybe that would change my mind. I loved Theo's visit with Dina. Dina didn't even talk back, and it was still a good conversation. Theo had invited Lola to be there with him. I guess maybe Kyle never invited Lola to meet her. I'm not sure. I got the impression maybe it was a first time meeting. I don't know. But I don't know. There was something very lovely about it. Lola brought Dina a flan, which Theo spoon-fed to her. Yummy, yummy. I think she enjoyed it. She seemed to. And the best part was when Theo was talking to Dina about this New York City trip that he was planning with Lola that we're never ever going to see and we should probably just stop talking about. But Theo was asking Dina which hotel she would recommend that they stay at in New York City, knowing that there was going to be one particular hotel that would perk her ears up because she spent so much time in New York City. I mean, she's a jet-setting gal. Surely she has a favorite place to stay in New York. It was very cute. And I love the idea of Dina jetting around New York City in the day during Fashion Week. I mean, staying at the most fabulous hotel, probably shopping at the most fabulous stores, eating at the most fabulous restaurants. And that just sounds so wonderful. I want to see it. I wish we would have seen it. I mean, we never really got to see that version of Dina, did we, as the viewers? You know, we saw the woman who abandoned her family and she was gone for so long, and then even, coming back, and it was just all apologies. We never really got to see the fabulous life that she was able to build to help us understand the reason why she left. I mean, it's such a shame because it sounds so wonderful. We're only kind of knowing about it after the fact, which honestly, I guess, as a viewer, I'm feeling how the Abbotts feel. That I just would have liked to have known her a little better. That's how Jack, Neshley, and Traci and the grandchildren too. That's how everybody feels. That we just wish we could have known her better. But anyway, Theo and Dina's visit was going so well until Kyle walked through the door, and he took it upon himself to break up the whole thing. A really nice visit, and Kyle just decided that it was over, announcing that this was too many people to be visiting Dina at once. Well, hey, buddy, if four's a crowd, then maybe you should just turn around and walk your butt right back out the front door. That was so rude. Just rude. Theo had a right to be there. It was clearly a planned visit, and Kyle crashed it and then expected everybody else to just leave. Ugh. What an entitled little rich brat. Again, a total chip off the block. I think ultimately Kyle was just jealous. He was jealous to see Theo sitting there with his grandmother and his soon-to-be ex-wife. It wasn't even about Dina and her well-being. It was just about Kyle. It was for Kyle, about Kyle. And then, of course, the whole thing erupted into an argument which upset Dina deeply, and she cried out, "John Stewart, stop it," which it really made sense because, you know, it's like Kyle is in the, you know, the lineage of John Abbott, and Theo's in the lineage of Stuart Brooks, and she was just sort of transported back there, I guess, because, you know, in her mind, she can probably see the physical resemblances, so it was understandable to why she thought what was going on was going on. And Jack stops by. He kind of walks in from the back, and he sees exactly what's going on, sees that his son and his nephew have now brought this, as he put it, garbage. They brought this garbage into his home. I loved the way he said that. Just walking in, witnessing this scene, and saying, you have brought this, now, you mean you took it to the office. It was living there. And now you've brought this garbage into my home. He breaks the whole thing up. He tells them that they need to leave and meet him at the office tomorrow so that they can settle this once and for all. You know the best way to settle an epic rivalry? It's to create a brand new reason for the epic rivalry. Look, I love, love, love this story. I love, love, love this twist. But can somebody please tell me how giving Kyle and Theo a brand new reason to fight is going to somehow stop them from fighting? I love it, but I don't get it, but I'll take it, all right. Jack drags both of these boys into the conference room by their ears, and he announces that he is making some big changes at Jabot. First up, Jabot Collective, it's getting the axe. We're done with it. I can't say I'm sad about that. I don't feel any sentimentality about Jabot Collective. There have been a lot of collections that have happened over the years. I mean, yes, it's you could probably think of a million other, you know, lines. Brash and Sassy and Nuvio isn't one of them, or trying to think of all of the different beauty lines that we've had. Ashley was working on a love potion at one point. She was all about natural products at one point. Jabot Collective never really, you know, connected with me. It was just the fashion line that they came up with to fill space after Ashley took away their ability to produce cosmetics. Although I do seem to remember Jack paying Ashley something like $1 million just to use the name Jabot Collective because she had eavesdropped on a meeting of Jabot, and I think she had placed a listening device inside of a gift basket. And then Jabot's having this brainstorming session, and Ashley lifts the name and is gonna call, I think she was gonna call it My Beauty Collective, and Jack paid her like $1 million just to make that stop, just so that he could keep using the name Jabot Collective. So there's $1 million down the tubes. Whatever, toss it around his neck. Drape it around his neck. Just take $1 million and sew it together as a scarf and just drape it around Jack's neck. Whatever. Jack wants to cut Jabot Collective and rebrand everything again, and he has had the idea that he wants to now use Kyle and Theo's passion to his advantage and create a competition between them for who can come up with the best idea to pull off this rebrand. Again, I ask, how is creating one winner and one loser going to help Kyle and Theo bury the hatchet? I have to believe that Jack, in his infinite wisdom, will somehow use both of their ideas and make them work together to implement it. Something. But in the meantime, like I said, I love this. I think that Kyle versus Theo is the best thing that Y&R has done in the past year, maybe in the past couple of years. I just love these characters. I love this rivalry. The wheels are already turning in both of their minds. They're both already trying to figure out a strategy for how not just to win, but how to make sure that they beat the other one. Kyle versus Theo. Who are you rooting for, Y&R Chatters? That was our poll question from last week. You're not even ever going to believe this. This was a 55-45 split. 55% of you are rooting for Theo! Can you believe that? I mean, Kyle is the legacy character here, and Theo is just edging him out by a little bit. That's a slim margin, though. 55 Theo, 45 Kyle. I'd say that right there sums it up. The fact that that vote is so close tells me that you guys are into this storyline. If half the fans are feeling passionate one way and the other half are on the other side, then that to me is a good story. I'm loving it. Maybe my next poll, or a future poll, should also be Summer versus Lola. Who are you rooting for? Because now it seems like the guys have dragged the girlfriends into it all too. Because Summer, even though she's technically Theo's direct report, like Theo's kind of her employee, but she has like totally jumped onto Team Kyle. And the very next time that she bumped into Lola, Summer was like putting on her stank face and lecturing Lola about Theo when they had started to develop a good rapport a couple of weeks ago. Like, remember when they were hanging out at the bar and kind of being nice to each other? And now this rivalry's there, and Summer just immediately was giving Lola stank face, and so Lola started putting on her stank face, and Lola gave Summer quite a look. It was the dirtiest look that I think I have ever seen coming from Lola. It was like the kind of dirty look that Lola should have been given to Kyle. Lola should have reserved that anger for Kyle when he, decided out of nowhere that he wanted to divorce her and get back together with his ex. Why is Lola giving that dirty face to Summer and not Kyle? That's all I'm asking. But I don't care. Don't care. This double rivalry is so much fun. This is such a clever idea by our writers. Like, I love it. I love it. Summer and Kyle are going to be pulling all kinds of late nights, working on their ideas, their brainstorming sessions with Chinese takeouts. And Theo is going to be getting all kinds of his meals delivered to him from Lola. She's going to be patting his forehead, making sure that he's, as he's sweating, making sure he's on the ropes, but he can get back into the fight. I think Theo already has the upper hand. It seems, you would think that maybe Kyle would be the favorite to win this because he's already the CEO, he's already got the experience, and he's Jack's son. But I think Theo kind of has the upper hand because Theo has Kyle's assistant on speed dial. How much you want to bet that we are going to get all the way to presentation day and we're going to find out that Theo has spied Kyle's idea and is about to pass it off to Jack as his own? Not gonna lie, at first I was feeling a little lukewarm about the whole New Hope Medical Clinic thing. It's just not sexy enough for me. I just don't feel comfortable doing sexy stuff at a medical clinic. And if we're going to get a new set, I want to be able to have sex on it. But now I can kind of see what the writers are doing. We've got Devon, Elena, Amanda, and Nate all buzzing around this New Hope Clinic now. This week, Devon offered Amanda a job to be the attorney for the clinic. So she's going to have lots of opportunities to interact there. She hasn't taken the job yet, but she will. And for now, I really like how everyone is being friendly. Amanda even told Devon this week about her date with Nate, about her Nate date. Her Nate date. And Devon seemed completely okay with it. He was encouraging toward her. He said, he wants them both to be happy. I didn't sense any disappointment in him that she's dating someone. In fact, Devon went right from that meeting with Amanda into a smooch session with Elena at the New Hope Clinic. Smooches are okay. I'm for smooches, but it just doesn't feel sanitary enough to be doing it at a medical clinic. So smooches, yes, but let's not take it any further. But yeah, eventually I think that Elena's insecurity is going to be the thing that bursts the whole friendship bubble that we've got going on. But for now, everybody's keeping their cool. I'm not sensing Elena's insecurity. She seemed happy for the Nate date. She was trying to give him advice for how he could go the distance with Amanda, take things slow, have fun. She was being encouraging, and then, she was smooching up with Devon. So I think we're in a good place right now. I like where we are. I see that Elena has also recently had her title changed. I was zooming in on my screen caps and noticing that Elena's name badge on her coat says Dr. E. Dawson. And I posted this at the website asking if Elena was always a doctor, because I did not remember her being a doctor before. I thought maybe she was an EMT. Remember when she was working all the late nights? And I guess I got the impression that she was a nurse or a paramedic or something. Yeah, she was Jet's nurse. She wasn't a doctor before. But Victoria chimed in there at the website to let me know that Elena's Wikipedia now lists her as a surgical resident. Surgical resident. I wonder if there's any chance she's going to be performing Sharon's surgery. No, probably not, right? Sharon's main doctor would be doing that. But I guess that means that Elena must have completed some schooling behind the scenes, right? I kind of wish we would have seen that or something. I guess I don't know. She's a doctor now. And I'm good with it. I'm happy entirely with how we're positioned here. I no longer feel in a rush to reunite Devon and Amanda, because I know we're in the ballpark and I know we can get there eventually. We're inching closer to it, and I'm okay to put on the brakes, pump the brakes, and just enjoy the ride to getting there. And I am also really feeling the chemistry between Amanda and Nate. Yes. The way they both looked on the first date. Oh my gosh, she looked so beautiful. He looked so hot. And we really have not had much of a chance to see Nate in a hot and sizzly romance. I just always felt that he and Abby were somehow temporary. It just didn't feel like they were gonna, really, really go the distance. But I tell you, if the stars align, Nate and Amanda could be burning bright into super couple status here. But, as is always the case in soap operas, the next step is everything goes up in flames. That was our quote from last week. The answer was Summer. Summer said that last week. She was talking to Kyle. She was giving her whole assessment of Nick and Phyllis's relationship, saying, we've been here before. I've seen this. The next step is everything goes up in flames. I thought that was a fun little line. A few of you guessed it. It was Jamie, Anna, Henry, Shakona, Susan, Juanita, Victoria, Kamna, T. Nicole, Ambreen, and Diana. Yes. Well done. I don't think you're going to get this week's quote, though. I probably could have picked something better, but I don't know. This quote just jumped out at me. Cool your jets. Who said, cool your jets. I think one of the other reasons why I picked it was because it sounds like something that Bart Simpson would have said. Cool your jets, man. But it was not Bart Simpson who said it. It was someone on The Young and the Restless who said it. And if you think you know who that was, you can go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if by some miracle you are able to guess it, then I will give you your props on next week's Y&R Chat. I know you guys are going to kill me for making this like a extra crazy long Y&R Chat. There's probably was all kinds of people. Were you logging in this morning and going, ugh, 2 hours? How am I ever going to get through this? Well, I can't help it. I was feeling very passionate about the classic episode. And I know I wasn't the only one. Victoria says, I viewed the episode on Friday that included Neil and Drusilla's honeymoon. And I forgot what an adorable and fun couple they were. I loved their playful dynamics. And did anyone else catch the huge cordless phone and Drusilla's reference to paging herself? Great memories. Oh yes, I did notice the giant cordless phone. Neil had it on they grabbed it, they had it on the beach, and then Neil also had it in the scene in at like the restaurant when Brad was calling him to tell him to take a couple extra days vacation. You know, it will be one of the funnest parts of watching these old episodes is seeing how the technology has evolved. I mean, yes, that big old brick phone that Neil had, but then it's weird. Phones were huge, and then they got really small, and then they kind of got big again. And we used to take a lot of phone calls, and I've said this before, probably within the last 5-10 years, it's been text messages. It's just funny to think of them on the beach with that big old phone, and now we've evolved to the point where you don't as much see people on the phones. I mean, you do, but we really rely heavily now on those little text message bubbles popping up on the screen, which I hate. I hate that. I don't like it. I don't text. I don't have any text. I have a Google Voice that I can technically send my text messages through, but I don't do it. I don't have a fancy phone. And I don't like having to pluck out the numbers on my old phone to get a text. I didn't make the leap to text. That's what it's really all about. I'm capable. I'm sure I could figure it out, but it's just, I don't like it. I never liked it. It started coming up and being popular probably in the late 2008, 9, 10, everybody started texting. And I remember feeling when it first started popping up on Y&R, those little bubbles, I thought, that is cheap. That is just, it's cheap. We should be having conversations, not just popping up text on the screen. I didn't like it. I guess I've gotten a little more used to it. But I much prefer to see all of the old phones. Eve and Victor were using some pretty good big phones. Those with the dial pads with the swirly cord. Oh, see, I love antiques. I love antique mall. I'm always antique shopping and viewing antiques and loving antiques, and so that tickled me too. But all right, moving on. Let's get a little preview of what perhaps this week's poll results might be. Diana says, I would love nothing more than for Jack and Jill to get together romantically. I was not really interested in Jack's previous relationship with Carrie or Phyllis, and so a Jack and Jill romance would definitely interest me immensely. Yeah, the romance with Carrie was such a miss, and I love Jack and Phyllis very much, but we haven't seen it with this Michelle Stafford's Phyllis and Jack. They didn't resurrect that after she came back, and I think that the chemistry from the past for Jack and Phyllis lied a lot in the chemistry between those two particular actors. So yeah, I'm happy Phyllis being with Nick, and I do want Jack to have someone new, and I don't know why I dismissed it so quickly, because it is looking like it's going to be Jill. And she is someone who could understand him. She's someone who's been there and who knows his life and who knows him. So I don't know what I'm grumping about. I mean, I was totally for Gloria. But then on the other hand, I also feel like Gloria was okay. I felt like I could make the leap into Jack and Gloria because I don't have to take Gloria too seriously. I've never had to take Gloria too seriously, so I don't have to, it doesn't matter to me really as much who she's with. She could pop on with Jack and that's fun and I like it. But Jill, I mean, it doesn't get much more legacy than Jill Foster. So I guess maybe there's just a part of me that's like, I don't know. I mean, those two have so much history that maybe it gets in the way. I don't know. We'll see. Anna says, I would love to see Jack and Jill as a couple, not just friends. They have history and chemistry. And after the initial romantic scenes, even when Jess Walton is not on the show, they could still be a couple. There are many couples where togetherness is implied, like Michael and Lauren or Paul and Cricket. Yeah, I know. I am a total jerk for just being like, meh, not gonna happen. I'm wrong, but I'm also the first jerk to say that when I'm wrong. Let's see. I'll try anything twice. Oh, so that's a preview of this week's poll. Let's talk about last week's poll, Kyle versus Theo. Who are you rooting for? I had, for nearly half the votes, nobody chimed in to say why they were picking Kyle, but lots of people wanted to say why they're picking Theo, starting with Colleen. The more Kyle picks fights with Theo, the less attractive he gets to me. And Jack obviously has a soft spot for Kyle. It seems like he's tougher on Theo than Kyle. I appreciate how Theo has been patiently building his relationship with Lola, and I love his hip, breezy vibe. Kyle, on the other hand, is uptight and has to have whatever he wants whenever he wants it, whether it's in the boardroom or the bedroom. I'm tired of his intense whininess and his obsession with Theo. Oh, I second that last part. I much prefer Theo's vibe to Kyle's vibe. I don't know that I think that Jack has necessarily been harder on Theo than on Kyle. I thought that Jack was being harder on Kyle than on Theo at the beginning of this, and he was really pushing Kyle to embrace Theo. And then as time's gone on, and also as we've seen Theo be a little bit shady toward Kyle, which we have not seen in the reverse, I think that I felt that we've then saw Jack be a little harder on Theo. But I don't know, I think in general Jack's been fairly fair. I don't know. You let me know what you guys think. Victoria says, I voted for Theo. Theo is a more dynamic character. Kyle's constant suspicions of Theo are annoying. I think Kyle needs a lesson on building community. The writers at Y&R could set up a warehouse walkout, and Kyle could try to solve the situation by using his typical whining, but Theo could come in, channeling his dad's mediating skills, listen to the workers, come up with a doable compromise, and get them back to work. It would set up a work dynamic for future feuds. Ooh! Victoria, I love this. We were almost previewed this whole white collar versus blue collar thing between them. And now it seems like what we're seeing is Theo trying to become white collar. Wouldn't it really be better if we pull him back a little bit and connect him into those blue collar roots and play up that dynamic at Jabot? Yes! Wow, that's a great idea. I will say, though, just in playing devil's advocate, saying that Kyle has these constant suspicions of Theo, and it's annoying. I will say, Kyle's right. He's right to suspect Theo. He was right to suspect Theo from the very beginning. I mean, Theo, from the moment he was coming into town, was trying to cause trouble for Kyle, and he is still doing it today. Kyle hasn't done as much of that in the reverse. He's always suspicious of him, but he's not really trying to actively undermine him. Just tossing that out there. Brenda08 says, I voted for Theo. I want to see Kyle go down. I don't think Kyle deserves the co-CEO position or whatever CEO position he holds. He's not being fair to Theo. Well, I voted Theo too, and I like Theo better 100%, but I don't know. I think maybe we are counting out Kyle a little bit in there. He's not being fair to Theo. I mean, I don't know. Would we be fair to someone who was sort of actively trying to screw us over? I don't know that I would ever forgive Theo for all of the ways he was trying to mess with Kyle when he first came into town. I mean, threatening him, threatening the secret with Zoe or Chloe or whatever her name was. I mean, I think, although I prefer Theo and I'm rooting for Theo more because I agree that Kyle is a whiny brat, I think we are maybe forgetting, maybe we're rewriting history a little bit though because we just like Theo. We are discounting Kyle a little bit, and also because we're ticked at Kyle for what he did to Lola. I feel like maybe that's some psychology going on beneath the surface of that. But hey, maybe I should ask for some more pro-Kyle voters to come forward. I mean, it's 45% of voters. Where were you guys with the comments? Give us some reasons from Kyle's perspective why we should want him to win. Well, in other feud news, Marianne V says, I like that Abby and Phyllis take turns winning with this feud. It's not just one-sided. Exactly, Marianne V. That's a really good point. I like Abby versus Phyllis, and if Abby had just won and was just going to be making all this noise in Phyllis's hotel, that would have made me feel bad for Phyllis. I like that Phyllis jumped back and got as good as she gave. It is. I think the Abby versus Phyllis feud is an example of a feud being done really well. And that's also to say I think that the feud with Kyle and Theo is being done very well. I just want to hear some more of these other sides. Hey, let's talk about something that I don't think is being done really well. T. Nicole says, Adam and Chelsea are being really cruel to Alyssa. Adam, you're using and lying to your old childhood friend. Do they not feel any guilt at all for how they're treating her? Adam calls her a liability. You brought her into this and you said you would publish her article. What do you think? What did you think would happen? Of course she's going to follow up if nothing is published. I'm excited for Victoria to team up with Alyssa. It makes me happy to see Team Alyssa comments because I just love her. She has got moxie. Alyssa has got moxie, and I want to see more of her. And I agree. He tossed Alyssa aside like it was nothing. And Chelsea tried to say to him, hey, doesn't it bother you that Alyssa was your friend? And Adam just callously said, nah, she's collateral damage. She got in my way, whatever. Which I don't even fully remember Victor being that maniacal. Adam's a tough one to connect with right now. Gary says, if there are any Adam experts out there, can you confirm his new psychodrama story as I understand it? Number 1, Adam's obsessed with his father. 2, he believes he's more like his father than any other Newman and wants Pops to recognize it. 3, Adam believes that if he blackmails his father for control of the company by threatening to expose him as a murderer, sending him to prison for the rest of his life, Victor will finally process, hey, Adam is just like me. 4, with this realization by Victor, Adam will be boosted to the head of the class by Daddy, who will then love number 2 son most of all. And 5, Adam wins, bringing the respect and admiration from the father he has always sought, plus whatever power perks come with this distinction. Yeah, Gary, wow, I'd say that about summarizes it. Yep. And it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. Just as much as Adam's position is puzzling, though, I think that Chelsea's position is more so puzzling. Daisy says, Chelsea must be out of her mind telling Adam that Victor will respect him for blackmailing him. That's so far from reality. Who's playing a long game here, Victor or Chelsea? And if Chelsea's playing a long game, what she wants remains to be seen. Although, if she is just going along with Adam, then she may lose everything that she has rebuilt, the way Adam will. And that also might include Connor. Blackmail might land Adam and Chelsea in prison. I know, whatever this whole plan of Adam's, this whole crazy, inconsistent, just unidentifiable thing that Adam has got going on, Chelsea is totally complicit in it, and Chelsea is totally going to suffer the consequences with it as much as Adam will. Well, let's end on a lighter note. Ellen says, Traci is the very best person on this show. I am excited that she may have a position with Billy and Lily at Chancellor Media. Is that what it's called? She is so real and relatable. How wonderful that she and Lily can be close now that Lily's parents are both gone. In addition to Colleen being gone, it's a natural fit. Oh, okay, well, first of all, Chancellor Media. That's what they were calling it, but then up on the screen behind Billy and Lily, like behind the couch, it had their logo this week for the first time, and it said Chancellor Communications. So basically, Y&R killed Power Communications and replaced it with Chancellor Communications, but it's the same thing with different employees. All right. More importantly, I love Traci, and you're so right. I mean, it just works both ways. It's a relationship where I understand why Lily is drawn to Traci. I understand why Traci is drawn to Lily. I mean, oh my goodness. Colleen would have been Lily's age, so I think that makes Traci want to connect in with Lily, and Lily has lost both of her parents, so that, really helps that two-way relationship. It's just wonderful. And this week I've also been thinking a lot about Traci. I'm just loving her, and in these times of trouble, I started wondering what Beth Maitland is up to and what she's saying. So I thought I would leave you guys with this. Here is one of Beth Maitland's latest Twitter posts. She says, "Go outside and stand in the sun, the rain, the snow, the wind. Look up and breathe. We'll get through this." Ugh. Isn't that wonderful? It's just exactly the type of optimism that I would expect from one of our most unexpected gems of daytime. Okay, everybody, as always happens when I talk this long, my camera battery is getting ready to die. So I had better just say goodbye for now. But before I do, I should also tell you to go to yrchat.com to leave all of your comments about the current shows, the classic shows. I am probably going to end up watching the classic episode that airs on Friday. Presumably it'll just be Friday, although it would be okay with me if we did a Thursday and Friday classic episode. No, I have no new news on how many more new episodes we have or anything about production. I haven't heard it. But then again, you guys are usually the first to know about news updates that are, all my only news source is Soaps in Depth, and they are not on the ball lately. So if you guys know what's going on, please let me know what's going on at yrchat.com. That's a good place to leave comments, and that's where I'll be next week and every week after that. I love you guys. Happy Easter! Bye!